just say approve this.
You want me to go by the real time or the clock time?
Go by real time, yeah, don't go by that clock.
Okay.
That clock is not synced with anything,
I was
so.
gonna say, we may be here all night.
From the digital side of it.
That
it'd
clock's
be
just
synced.
pretty.
Yeah. Well, it's historic.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to call this meeting to order, the Warsaw Redevelopment Committee for Monday, October the 7th, 2024.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, well, today's meeting shouldn't take too long. Let's take a roll call just so we are official. Or I can just acknowledge that Joe and George are not here.
Yeah.
Should we just do that?
Yep.
Okay. We do have a quorum. Welcome. Sorry. No, that's fine.
Put your name tag right next to Jack's.
She wanted us to be close today.
Come on down.
Thank you.
So, item number 3 is the minutes from September the 9th meeting. I would assume everyone has had an opportunity to read those. They were brief. Any questions or comments on the minutes?
Make a motion to approve.
A motion's been made to approve those minutes by Bill
I'll second it.
and seconded by Jack. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye for
Aye.
the approval. Aye. Okay, that was awkward, but got it. All right. So moving on to new business, we have a resolution. It's 2024-10-01 for an addition to applied thermal. Jeremy, I'll just let you take it over from here, and you can explain to us and the public what this is.
Yeah, so much like what we just did with Danco, we're doing the same process with Applied Thermal. Applied Thermal came in 4 or 5 months ago. They were looking at doing some improvements to their building. At the time, they were looking at putting in a private water system to support their needs. And I said, well, why wouldn't you extend the water line? We did some cost analysis. It was obviously cheaper for them to do the private stuff than to extend the water main, but not necessarily in our best benefit. So after some conversations with them, I agreed to contribute the additional cost, or the amount of additional cost to extend the water line by 1,000 some feet, which helps us in future development, as well as helps
Attract
them
new business.
attract new business. There's 150 some acres to the east that at some point in time I'd like to see us work on developing, as well as some acreage to the north. So it's to our benefit to extend the water up 100 East or Husky Trail with the intent of helping that development in the future. So I agreed to contribute the $300,000 and that is additional cost to run the water line rather than them putting in a private water system. So this resolution is the beginning of that process. It amends the development plan to add them to the acquisition list, which will do very similar to what we did with Danco and the gas main. Instead of a gas main in this, in the Danco case, it'll be a water main. We'll be extending that water line north. So we'll basically purchase their property and dispose that property back to them at the same time. So this is the first resolution, amends the plan, adds them to the acquisition list, and then the second resolution would be that disposal process. Is there any discussion or questions on the project or why the water main? Or
Well, what I like about it is that it's clearing the way for future business to come in there and have access to water, because we don't want everybody coming in there and having to put in their own water system.
Yeah, I mean, it's not efficient, and then obviously it takes up more space. It's more work. Obviously, I think it's in their best interest, and that was the conversation we had with him. Was obviously they would like to have Indiana American Water, but it was a pretty, I mean, it was a 50% cost, you know, so they could do it for half. They can put their own water system in for half the price, right? So that was the big thing. So our ability to level that playing field made it much more appealing for them to go spend their money on the public water side than the private. So
And we can attract new business. That makes sense.
We know that infrastructure that is already there is always more attractive to companies coming in.
well, and just the future development of that acreage. I mean, right now we have the sanitary sewer that runs along Husky Trail. Now we'll have the water that runs about 50% up Husky Trail. So the accessibility to that infrastructure makes it easier for us to develop it in the future.
Jeremy, since you're talking about the infrastructure and Husky Trail, just for the sake of those who may be listening or watching, could you give us just a real basic description of where all this property lies so people will know?
Yeah, so this is just north of the intersection of 200 and Husky Trail.
So north and west.
Yeah, so it'd be on the northwest side of, I'm trying to think of the road there, Pound Drive. So they're on the northwest side of Pound Drive and on Husky Trail. Off to the east is 150 plus acres of farm field that at some point we would like to, we'll see develop, right? Whether it be industrial or a combination of different developments. When we ran the sewer out there, that sewer line was designed to provide sewer to that large future development. So this water line will give us that capability to service with public water as well, or Indiana American Water. But yeah, that's also, so we're going from the intersection that we just approved design of a roundabout. So we're working on the roundabout there. So that water line will go from that intersection all the way up to Pound Drive, and then a little ways down Pound Drive to cover their property as it heads east. Is there any questions on the first resolution?
I move that we accept resolution 2024-1001.
Second.
Been a motion made and a second. Any further discussion from anyone, gentlemen? Okay, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Jeremy?
Thank you. The second resolution is also on the applied thermal project. So we added it to the acquisition list, which allows us to acquire. We did the appraisals. The second part of this process is the disposition. So this is just the resolution allowing for the disposition of applied thermal's property as per the requirements within the state statutes. This will go to Plan Commission. It'll go to, so the resolution that you just approved will go to Plan Commission, to the City Council, then back to you. This one is that disposition process. This will not go through the rest of them, but so you still have the Plan Commission, Council, and then it'll come back to you next month, and that'll be the final next month.
This second resolution?
No, the process. There'll be so this was the declaring, and then there'll be a final resolution. This disposition resolution is just the disposition of the process per the state statute, so this won't go anywhere else. It'll
And
just
it
be,
just goes through us?
Yes.
Okay, that was my question. Okay. And when do you anticipate all this what's the timeline?
my goal is to get it done before the end of this year, so we'll have, the water main project is underway. We'll issue our check in the next 30, 60 days.
Okay.
Because I want to use this year's money. We had originally budgeted million-plus this year for Anchorage Road.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, that didn't happen. We didn't get that project because the utilities had to relocate. It was 18 months to relocate those utilities, so we pushed that project till next year. So we have the money this year to do this project and the Danco project, so it kind of worked out. But we want to
Okay.
use this year's money for this
That's good
project.
to know. That, I was just
Because
gonna
next
ask.
year's money is already budgeted for Anchorage Road, so.
Okay. Any questions, gentlemen?
Make a motion to approve.
Okay, motion's been made by Bill
I'll second it.
and seconded by Jack. I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes, Jeremy.
Thank you.
Unanimous. Okay, next on the agenda, temporary lease agreement. I'll hand it back to you, sir.
Yeah, so I was approached by Wildman. They were looking for some temporary cold storage space. We had the Marsh property as we continue to work towards getting a buyer or redeveloping that project. We have a little bit of a roadmap to do that. So they had asked about a 6-month temporary cold storage lease, and I said I would consider it. After some communication between the two of us, we landed on this lease agreement, which will pay us a little over $1,300 a month for 6 months. And then if they need it longer than that, and if we have not found a tenant or a owner for the building, we could extend that month to month at a $3,000 monthly rate.
Okay.
The lease agreement has your typical lease. It also has more or less like a little map of the area that they will be using for cold storage at the back. They'll be using around 10,000 square feet for cold storage for the next 6 months. Scott, I got this lease agreement from Scott, so our attorney reviewed it. I don't see any issues with it. It does have the ability for us to terminate the agreement as well as them within 30 days or something like that, so we continue to market, we continue to have some conversations with individuals that have ideas, but it'll probably be at least 6 months before anything would get off the road anyhow, so this at least allows us to have some income to cover the utilities for that building.
Which would be nice going into the winter.
Yes.
Will we still maintain our agreement with Dilling to go down there and check the building and all that stuff?
Yeah, I think they've done most of that work. It was kind of like month to month, I think, through last year. I don't know that we've been continuing that or not, but we'll probably look at something this winter similar to what we did last winter.
Okay, yeah.
I've been in it about 6 times a month at this point.
Okay.
Seems like I'm in it every other day, but, so, yeah.
And liability?
It's all covered in the lease.
Okay, I was reading through it.
So they will have liability insurance for their
Okay.
product as well as anything related to their use of the building. We obviously insure the building already, so from a building insurance won't be covered, but any liability resulting from their employees or someone getting hurt, they'll have their own liability coverage in terms of that.
Any chance our insurance on the building will be any less? I ran into this when my wife inherited her mother's home. The homeowner's insurance had to be renewed. And because nobody was in
Occupying
it, occupying it, it went up like 3 or 4 times. It went up from like, I don't know, $300 a year
I'll
to
talk
$900.
I'll talk to Lynn, but I think, we have such a large policy that covers
Yeah.
so many buildings, I don't know that it would really.
It might not be
impact
worth
one,
it, but-
yeah. But I'll talk to Lynn about it. Yeah, obviously having somebody there, 2 or 3 times. So My understanding is they bought a company, and as they kind of bring that company into the fold, there's some products that they sell that they needed extra storage space for. So we're just assisting with that as they make those changes. I don't know what their long-term solutions are, and I've offered my assistance with that once they determine what those are, but this will be a short-term kind of solution for them.
Any other questions from anybody? Okay. So you need approval on this, don't you, Jeremy? You need a
Yep, approve and sign, and we'll get a
Okay.
copy back to them, and
Make a motion to approve.
Bill has made a motion to approve,
I second.
seconded by Jack. Any further discussion or questions from anyone? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the lease agreement with Wildman to rent the Marsh Building, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No? Okay. Motion passes unanimously. Or the agreement, I should say. Last but not least, approval of claims.
we have a few.
Yes, we do. We always do.
First three are Marsh Utilities, so you got Indiana American Water, 353.76, NIPSCO, 71.56, NIPSCO, 591.92, G&G Hauling, 26,147.99. This was for the alley improvements by the Grove. Barnes and Thornburg Legal Services, 7,487 for the ongoing legal documents for Warsaw Chemical. Griffin Real Estate and Vern Mitchell are the two appraisals for the Pound Drive property attached to the resolutions you just approved. Lowe's, 809 was for keys for the Marsh Building for the lease. Baker Tilly, 2,685 was for tax increment financing work. A&Z Engineering, 7,405 was for ongoing engineering services for 300 North and 200 West. Emmons Engineering, $600 for the Petro Drive project. The two Kosciuszko County treasurers are for taxes on the two closed properties. The one is for 330 North Buffalo Street. The other one for the Marsh Building, $21,835.60. 42,000 our monthly payment for the West Hill or for the Shell Building, and then our monthly payment for Peak Med, $300 for their workspace at Ketco.
Anyone have any questions? So we're still responsible for property taxes on that Marsh Building?
We're not, so it was kind of frustrating. So you probably don't remember, but when we.
I do remember something, but I don't remember exactly the details.
So we agreed to buy it for 1.25 million.
Uh-huh.
And then when it went to closing, they credited the taxes. So we didn't pay 1.25 million, we paid like 1.2 something.
Okay.
And then, so now we're paying the taxes that I would have rather just been covered when we paid and they held an escrow, but they didn't. So now we're paying those. So initially, we didn't pay the 1.25 million, so at the end of the day, we're still paid 1.25 million for the property, it's just we're paying the taxes
So
now.
this should be the last tax bill we see for that?
Yes,
property.
yeah, it will be the last tax bill.
Okay. Okay.
Make a motion to approve the claims.
Okay, motion's been made by Bill to approve these redevelopment claims for October.
Second.
Seconded by Jack. Any questions or thoughts? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving the claims for October of 2024, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Approves unanimously. Okay. Okay. Other business that may come before this redevelopment commission? Jeremy, you got any updates or anything you want to share?
Obviously, if you haven't driven by the GACI, the building's
I
pretty
have.
much
I got
down.
pictures on my phone.
The buildings are pretty much down. They got clean up the space, so that project's moving forward. Millworks, we're close to having, or they're close to having the design documents done, so that building will be finished design here shortly. Warsaw Chemical, we're probably within days of signing the purchase agreement. Still working with Craig Snow on the state funding, so we'll continue to work with that. But a lot of progress on our projects, and just looking forward to getting some shovels in the ground yet this year.
So back to Millworks for a minute. We've been pretty involved in that. Will we get to see those design plans?
Yeah, I mean, as soon as they send them to me, I can send them out to you guys.
Will
just
we
to
have
look at.
any say-so in anything on that? Like, have you thought about doing this, or we don't like that, or we love this?
No.
Does it have to be approved by Plan Commission?
It will have to be approved by the tech review board.
Tech Review Board?
Yes, which
Never heard of
is
them. Who's that?
all the department heads, so like police, fire review it, we review it, street department review it, Aaron, city engineer reviews it, building plan reviews it, I'll review it, but
Okay.
that's just reviewing it for all the city's codes, all
Okay.
the state's codes, to make sure it's compliant with those, but
Okay.
it doesn't necessarily go before redevelopment commissions for approval or anything.
Plan?
Not plan, not unless they're adding, subtracting. Plan would be specific to subdivision, so if they were adding, subtracting lots, then it would go to the plan commission. But they are not adding or subtracting any lots, so.
I'd like to see those plans.
I'll definitely give you guys, as soon as I have them, I'll send them out to you. I mean, if you have any comments, you can give me your comments, but they don't necessarily have to change them as long as they meet the requirements.
Yeah.
We don't delve too deep into the do this, do that. We're very high level, so obviously our conversation was we wanted a mixed-use building, which means residential, and marketplace or market value or workforce housing is what the target was. So that's that 80 to 120% AMI, which is what they're targeting, and then some commercial space, which they'll have some commercial space. So
They will have some commercial space.
yeah.
I remember seeing some plans. They must have been
I think
preliminary.
it was, and I
at some
think
point.
it'll be I mean, they're gonna keep to that kind of that initial design, but I'm sure there'll be some changes.
Will they have ample room for parking for as many units as they want to put in there? They're not going to be spilling out. In other words, are there going to be enough parking spots for the number of units that they're going to have so we don't have overflow parking on the streets? You know what I'm asking?
Yeah, and I believe there'll be around 80 to 85 units, and I think they have 120 parking spaces, so about 1.5 per unit, yeah.
Okay. Any other? Boy, that GACI building came down
They did, yeah.
in pretty short order. I mean, I know it's been several weeks, but it was fascinating to watch that.
It took years.
You're right. You are right. That claw, and he took a big, huge I-beam and grabbed that thing and used it as a scraper and just scraped all that concrete into a nice, neat pile. I was fascinated watching that.
Yeah, they've torn down a few buildings.
Yeah, yeah, they knew what they were doing. And once you see the place out the building, the lot doesn't look that big
That's what I was,
anymore.
when you're saying you're putting in 80 apartments and have
Well,
parking.
Millworks.
That's
Oh,
more.
yeah.
Well, GACI's 80 some apartments,
That's
same
what I
thing.
thought it was.
Yeah, same thing.
It doesn't look like there's,
Well, GACI is one more acre than the Owen site.
no.
So GACI is right around, a little over 3 acres, and the Owen site's right around 2 acres.
I guess with that big building, it just made the whole thing look big.
Yeah.
With it gone, it looks smaller. But you're right, it did take years.
It took years.
It took years.
There were people who thought it would never be done.
Well, we got her done. Now it's gonna be exciting to see what goes up.
Yep.
Looks like a lot of our wins are gonna come all at once.
Certainly makes it challenging.
Keep Jeremy busy for a while.
Yeah.
Well, us too. Us too.
Yes, we've had a very busy year.
And it's not over.
It's not over yet, no.
Okay. Anything else, Jeremy?
Nope, that's it.
All right. Does anybody else have anything? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
So I'm putting Jeff down as motion. Bill, you seconded.
How's mom and dad doing? They get caught up in